Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ganesh Subramanian, founder and CEO of Stylumia. We have been having a series of CEO talks on coming out of COVID with resilience and future ready. The talks we had so far had wonderful response, and each one of you have been sending questions, and we thank you for that. And today we have one of the most accomplished, very aggressive, and optimistic CEOs in the country. Right, I know Abhishek for a few years in my Mintra days, right? Everything what you see Puma today, I'll give a lot of contribution to how Abhishek pushed us. Apart from what we did, what he asked us to do. Even if we said no, he would just said, please go ahead and do it. Let's try it out. Everything that we tried, that, I can't tell you that anything which has not worked, right? He is somebody who always pushed the boundaries. We are super excited to welcome Abhishek Ganguly, MD of Puma India, on this talk today. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think it's very overwhelming to hear some good points from you. I think the best thing that I liked, given the circumstances, is the word optimistic, because I think that's the most relevant word needed for all of us, all professionals and everyone, even as individuals. So yes, I've been in the world of sports, fashion, retail for almost a decade and a half now. I've been with Puma since the beginning of when we set up our subsidiary in India, way back in 2006. And ever since I'm there, I'm leading the company for the last almost 6 years now. I now manage Puma's business in South Asia and also in Southeast Asia. That's an additional responsibility I have for the last 2 months. So yes, I mean, the brand has done very well. We are clearly the #1 brand in the category. Nothing to complain. Everything has gone well for us that we could have thought of. But of late, till February, things were very different. And now things have completely turned around, Initially, we saw this as more of a sourcing problem for us, because we thought it's a China-led challenge, and we thought that we were looking up on how much of our business, how much of our sourcing comes out of China. Just hold on for a minute, please. So how much of our business, how much of our production comes from China? And we were happy to note that only 25% of our business, of our products get manufactured in China, which seemed then to be a great position to be in. However, soon we realized, and how quickly we realized, that this is a gripping problem across the world, a problem which is once probably in a century, or if not more. So crisis like never before, and it had resulted into a complete demand problem across the world. Before I delve a bit more into how do I see the situation in future and stuff like that, I think it is very important for all of us across the board to realize that how do we behave, or how do we take this situation in the next 3 months or 4 months till the situation is really not under control. And I think the first thing that I've been telling my team, and I would like to share with you, is the fact that we should not panic. And I know it is a very difficult thing when the situation is as grim as this, and there are apprehensions. When it is difficult to even get the basic necessities in our place. But I think our near and dear ones really expect us to be next to them and to be supportive. And the first thing that is very important is not to panic. And I think sometimes difficult situations, like there is a saying, cometh the hour, cometh the man. And I think it's a true test of our character and our personality, a test like never before. It is also a time when I think it's very important to stay connected with our loved ones, It's very important to stay connected with our business partners, with our neighbors, with our relatives through various mediums. I think getting in touch with people, speaking to people, not only puts us in a better frame of mind, it also gives others the opportunity to talk and share. And I think more than ever in this world, I think we are realizing the necessity to share and to collaborate. And I think I would encourage everyone to stay connected with people. I think it's not just for business, like I said, even for our personal lives, I think it is very, very important. So I think the other thing that I realize for all businesses right now, more than ever, because a lot of times in our business, we have taken things on a long term and often a medium term. I think it's time to, in a lot of ways, it is very important right now to be short term. And by short term, I mean looking into things which and how to stay afloat, how to keep the lights on. I think more than anything else, it is important right now to look at the next 3 months and say, how as businesses do we survive? How do we conserve our cash? How do we ensure that all our team members are safe? How do we ensure that our team members are taken care of in terms of their salary and compensation? I think more than a long-term view, I think it is about short-term view. And because of that, cash becomes a very, very important parameter. Very difficult for businesses like ours because we've always been a growth business. And to just do a complete U-turn, and we would always look at business long-term to say for the moment, we are going to be just be very, very short-term. Being short-term is very important. And I think the analogy I would give, like if we did not have our jobs, which means we did not have salaries, and we did not know when we will get the job, which means we never know when the income will start again. This is what our businesses are going through. We exactly don't know when things will start coming back, when will revenue start coming. And then you look at your household and say, what are the basic necessities that I need to fulfill right now? Where do I put in the money? Even if there is an option of a great investment that comes in, which would have given you the opportunity to double your money in 1 year's time, probably it's not the right time to look at it. Similarly at business, it's probably time to look at only the basic things that will keep us going for the next few months. It's a complete U-turn from how we would have otherwise looked at our businesses on a long-term basis. So that's the analogy I give, that if we didn't have jobs and we didn't know when our income will start again, how would we have run our household? I think that's the attitude that is required today to run businesses, and businesses of all size and scale. This is not just for small and medium enterprises. This is across the board. People have to adopt that, because during crisis, the first thing that we need is survival, and exiting that with minimal impact, the minimal change in the organization. And I think that's very, very important. So this is something which I see as a need for the hour. I think leadership will undergo a lot of changes. I think leaders who have extreme levels of flexibility and acceptance of change will be able to drive their organizations forward better in times to come than anybody else. So nimbleness, flexibility, change, adoption of newer things is going to be very, very important, because the world will not be the same. It is very clear to us that post this, it will not just be an impact of next 5-6 months. I think the impact is going to be much longer. And hence, how do you adapt and adopt newer ways, adapt to situations and adopt newer ways of functioning will change. Look at our fashion category. In our fashion category, typically, you would plan a range 9 to 12 months in advance, take orders from customers, from distributors, from retailers across your market, and then you would go into production. And after 6 months, when the season gets launched, you would supply these products into the market. Now the entire thing is going to change. I mean, demand planning 9 to 12 months in advance is going to be extremely difficult. And I think that needs a complete rehaul, that needs a complete rethinking and approach. So how we led our business, our fashion lifestyle planning, I think it will completely get evolved. And that's why I spoke about leadership, because leadership has to first accept and also encourage the entire team to take in new ways of working. Coming to that, I think a bit more detail. I think supply chain is going to be extremely strategic in the business going forward. Again, irrespective of the category, but in fashion and lifestyle, it's going to be more than ever before. Because it would be very, very difficult to predict exact demand for the next few seasons. So how do you actually buy inventory? How do you actually distribute inventory? Where do you keep inventory? What are your stocking points? Is going to be a big challenge. And there too, a nimble structure and a very flexible structure is going to be very, very important. So I think all models around demand planning and the tools that we use need to incorporate these changes. Like today, every business is writing their plans for the next 12 months. But the truth is, we are all we are just guessing right now. It's only when things come that we will exactly know. In the past, we would know, okay, we have these many stores, we expect like-to-like growth of this much percentage, and it would just throw up our overall requirement. But that's not going to happen. So I think it's also about planning on a very weekly basis and monthly basis rather than seasonal basis. This is going to be very, very important. I think rolling forecast at a weekly and monthly level is going to be very, very critical for our health of business. So that's why I stressed on the point on leadership, because the change is going to be overall. Look at the channel structures. I think the channel structures are going to change. I think we don't know when malls are going to get opened up and in what level and when. Adopting digital and promoting digital is super, super important, in my opinion. I think e-commerce will become an even more important channel going forward. And focusing on e-commerce, all elements of e-commerce, we have to all, as brands, have to start thinking like an e-commerce company. And that's going to be a very important shift, in my opinion. How do we service? What kind of, where do we, our stocking points, our service levels? We need to all ramp up our own .coms. We need to build traffic driving initiatives and build capabilities in our organization to generate demand on online platforms. We have to work on digital content. So digital amplification of business, I think, is a very, very important element going forward. And these are all going to change. I think that's it from my side. I had written a few more things, but I think as I take these questions that Ganesh sent me, I would be able to put in a few more points that I've written from my perspective. So Ganesh, probably we can start taking the questions. Do you want me to start taking it on my own?
Yeah, sure, Abhishek. I think what I'll do is maybe I'll just do a quick sum up of what you have talked about, and then maybe take you through questions based on the current vote. Yeah, just to sum up, Abhishek, I think it's a wonderfully put. One, initially we all thought that it's a supply problem, and you said it moved into a demand problem. And your recommendation of looking at while you might be making medium long term, right now short term is super key. You just need to survive in crisis before you move forward. And you said from a leadership perspective, it's very important to adapt and then adopt. You just need to be nimble, flexible at this point of time. And you also talked about in the same breath how supply chain need to be nimble and flexible. And the gone are the days of quarter and quarter planning. I think it's a weekly rhythm. Rolling planning is super critical. And the last ones, I think it's very critical is amplify digital. It's not about digital every way. How can you also build those capabilities inside the organization, looking at your own .coms and demand generation, all of that. I think wonderfully put. A lot of complimentary points of view that which has come up through our talk so far. Let me just take the question.
I'd like to add a couple of things, Ganesh, here.
Go ahead.
I think as leaders and as businesses, I think compassion for people, given how it is, I think that's extremely important right now. It's not just about health and safety, which is of course of paramount importance right now, to ensure health and safety of our employees, and in some cases our partners who would work with us. I think its compassion is going to be very, very important. As businesses struggle, the feeling as well as the actions which show that we are in it together. It is easy to say we are in it together and send a WhatsApp text, but to really lead that through in the company and really stand for it, I think it's going to be very important. This is one kind of a employer / leadership currency, if you may, is going to be extremely important for future, because people are going to look up to leaders who during times of crisis, how they behaved and what decisions they took for the organization. Here I'll give you an example. People talk about retrenchment and pay cuts during this time of crisis. And I think it's time that leaders stand up to that. In organizations where you say, I, as the head of the organization, will take the maximum hit, and raise your hand and say, I will be the first one to take the hit, and I will be the person to take the maximum hit. And that should flow down. The guy at the lowest end of the curve, at the bottom end of the curve, should be protected the most. So I think compassion is going to be important, and leadership through compassion is going to be a critical factor. The second thing which I said, and I can't repeat this less, is the importance of staying connected. Like, I really appreciate what you're doing, Ganesh, and some of the other entrepreneurs and some of the other business leaders are also doing the same. But I think it is very important to stay connected, because it's a world where we had all, the truth being said, that we had all built our own silos and worked in our own, little bubbles. And this is the time to actually just connect ourselves and reconnect. And the world is showing that the importance of human connect through various means has become extremely important.
Wonderfully put. I think, sorry, I missed that. I think compassion and taking care of people and leaders, setting an example for that is super critical at this point of time. Let me start taking the questions, in the order of vote so far. Is it the golden time for sports and activewear post-COVID? Because people today, look at the dressing, and it's a lounge and life coming together, work coming together. So, is it something that you see as an opportunity?
Well, we would be a bit, in my mind, we would be a bit inhuman at this stage as the world is going through a crisis to look at and call it like an opportunity. To use the terms right. I think if you ask me, sports and fitness and sportswear has been relevant even before COVID, because the world is changing and we realize, irrespective of the situation, how important is healthy lifestyle for us. And that awareness has spread across the world, and that's the reason sportswear is growing across the world. And even more in India, where the realization is very strong. If you see the number of gyms that came up, number of fitness apps that have come up, number of marathons that have happened, the adoption of sport. I think overall there is a big movement towards health and wellness, which is helping our category. I think COVID is even a bigger reminder of how important health is. So that way, yes, importance of sportswear is even more. Yes, for the moment, as we all work out of more at homes and we are staying at home with what you are wearing, what I'm wearing, other than loungewear and pajamas, activewear seems to be the most go-to, wear from a usage occasion perspective. Any other apparel or footwear which is very specific to a party or to a going out or maybe to a wedding, all of this will probably for the moment take time to come back in terms of demand.
Got it. Your headquarters is in Germany, and this question is there any learning from Germany on COVID response plan where, which we can adopt?
Well, I think 2-3 things that I'm seeing from our organization. I think we are reaching out to our manufacturing partners and we are reaching out to our retail partners very, very strongly. And I think that's a big learning for me because, our CEO is driving that himself, and I think it is very important on both sides of the value chain because it's natural that retail partners will have lower demand, more inventory. Our manufacturing partners will have orders cut. They will struggle in keeping their units open. And I think one thing that I have seen is that we as a company are reaching out to people, to both sides of our value chain and expressing solidarity, expressing that, we are in it together. And I think that's one thing that I take away from our approach in Germany. The other thing that I take from our headquarters is, the way we are planning our future is evolving, and some of it I already told you in the previous conversation. That we are completely evolving the way we were looking at our seasonal buys, the way we were looking at our the way we were looking at our trade shows and our distributor meets and our customer meets, and how we are now having to adopt to digital ways of showcasing our product lines for future. I think these are some of the things that I've seen and is worth noting from our approach in the headquarters.
Absolutely. I think that reinstates your compassion bit across the ecosystem of both on the demand side and also the supply side. And the next question is about, you talked about it, but maybe anything we want to add on is, should brands and retailers should invest in their own brand.com right now or retailer.com?
I think brands, retailers, companies in various sectors have to completely look at their entire digital play, not just their .com. Of course, .com is a very, very important channel because it's not just a commerce channel. It is also a brand channel and is very important. But I think it grows across the way we look at our supply chain, the way we are looking at our launches, to be relevant to digital platforms, the way we look at content, the way we look at marketing. Given when things will open up, I think the world of marketing is also going to change a lot. So I can't less harp on the importance of social and digital media in future, because people would just be on digital platforms, right? And for example, I don't know how much of newspaper advertisements are relevant today, given the circumstances that people are probably getting weaned out of print newspapers. Out of home, people are not stepping out enough today. So even the world of marketing will get oriented towards digital. So it's not, to answer your question, yes, .com will be very, very important. And so will be other digital elements of the business.
Yeah, Abhishek, you led .com initiative for your own brand, which is Puma.in, one of the early commerce platforms in the country. Now, what's any tip on your learning, right? What not to do or something, for people? And everybody knows that digital I have to do now. How is always a question. and any one or two things that you want to share.
Like I'm very happy that we took this initiative, and we were one of the first, like you said, on monobrand.com site. Last year we upgraded the platform, and it is one of the fastest monobrand e-commerce platform today. And you can check it, Ganesh, by the way. And we had about already 5 to 7% of our revenue. And remember that we are a substantially large and popular brand. To come to through .com has been a great journey already. Some of the learnings, I think it is very important to have a platform which is, needless to say, mobile first, both in terms of the entire front end as well as the content on it. I think it's very important to also have a platform which can personalize the offering based on the user. E-commerce platform. I think sometimes brands do this like an additional channel where inventory is just showcased. I think it's an e-commerce play, an out and out e-commerce play, and brands need to have the kind of capability and skills inside the organization to run it like a pure play e-commerce platform. So this is one of my big learnings, and also the focus from the top management. I personally am always on the platform. I track the platform, and going forward, I would like more and more share of our business coming from our own platform.
Wonderful. I think people will realize now it takes a lot of effort to build a platform which can attract traffic and also to convert. Therefore, you need to think like a digital native company. So that means a lot. It's another company sitting in your own company.
It is not a website with cataloging on it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of today's e-commerce is looked at like that.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. So the next one is on sustainability. Design and manufacturing of shoes have made remarkable achievement in demonstrating sustainable practices. What's your recommendation to the apparel industry, and is it amplifying considering what's happening right now?
I think it's a great question. I don't know how much it is relevant to today's world, to today's crisis, but it is relevant extremely to our planet. The good thing is that consumers across the world, and we have had results of various surveys today, value sustainable products. So, 5 years back, this was not the case, because people would not like to pay any kind of premium or not even sometimes value sustainable products. So as an organization, we are extremely committed to it, to have sustainable materials. By 2020, we want 90% of our products to have sustainable materials in and out. And this is, across footwear, apparel, accessories, across cotton, polyester, everything. We have done an initiative with First Mile, where we have taken sustainable yarns coming out of plastic bottles and launched footwear, apparel, accessories out of that. We are going to build on that in future. I think it is the young audience is very, very conscious of that. And I'll give you an example. I do an interaction with all the management trainees and people who have joined the company in the last 3-4 months, and we do this program every quarter. The questions around sustainability and our initiatives around sustainability takes a lot of time and conversations, happen around that. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of young professionals, a lot of young people, and including consumers, are very sensitive and towards what does a brand that they endorse or buy or work for, what are they doing around sustainability? And this is a big change, a very happy change. And I think all businesses should accept and take their own initiatives across, even packaging, supply chain. What can you do in the warehouse which makes things more sustainable? And sometimes this is a very small change, might not even increase cost, but just because we never thought about it in that way, we never did it. And it's time that we look at sustainability as an integral part of our business strategy.
Got it. I think it's a right time to start. There's a huge awareness in the demographics, which is important to the country. From a commercial perspective, I think it's a matter of time that sustainability and commerce will come together. Now, this is a question I think for you. It's how are you keeping the positive vibes in times like these?
Well, I said I think it's a test of someone's personality and character. It's not easy. First thing is the endorsement of the fact that it's not easy. Secondly, I think digital media today and social media and various chat platforms are today filled with lot of negativity and concern. I think in some ways, sometime through the day, we should stop accessing them. I think it is very important to keep our mind fresh and stop accessing difficult and negative content. Um, I think it is also very important to do some kind of a fitness activity at home. And I'm not saying this because I work for Puma, but I'm saying this because I firmly believe in it, that we need to spend between 45 to minutes to an hour every day doing workouts. The kind of energy one gets into puts one's mind in a very positive direction. The third thing that I'm doing is I'm staying connected with my team, as I said. Also, our organization's doing various things. The HR team is doing various things digitally to engage the audience. And we used to have a Puma Sports League where the entire organization was divided into 4 teams. And we used to play sport and do various kind of competitions. Now, a lot of these is happening today digitally. And people are interacting digitally. A lot of learning programs across the organization happening where people are engaging themselves. So putting all of this into this together, I think if you spend lesser time um, accessing content which shows how difficult the crisis is and what will happen and how we will all struggle, and focus our energies into positive things, because look, the world will change, let's accept it, but let's cross the bridge when it happens, right? And whatever it is, um, spending more time into positive energy oriented activities, I think would be critical.
Next one, which industries influence you the most? Any ideas that you would like to share? Where are you picking your lead indicators? Are you looking at outside your industry?
Outside the industry, I think I'm looking at outside India. I think China shows us a lot of positive results today once they have opened up. I can see a lot of growth in e-commerce in China already over last year in our category. I can see our stores across the board have opened up, which is a very positive thing. I also note that today ASOS in UK, while the entire platform might not be growing from last year, but sports and fitness categories are growing. So some of these positive, factors across the world is something which I'm picking up and saying that once things are back, probably us as a business will find ways to create a mark once again.
So the next one is, I think, similar to what we discussed before, but asked in a very different way, is do you see sportswear placed in the essential versus non-essential spectrum in the post-COVID India? How will this impact spending propensity?
Well, I have a vested interest, so of course I will say sportswear is essential, and hence I would bypass the question. But I will say that fitness is an essential activity. That's how I would place it. Staying at home does not stop us. Should not stop us. It's an essential activity. So that's how I would respond to that question.
Got it. The next one, I think you have already answered. The question was, is there anything we are seeing early recovery in China? Are there any insights from that? You talked about increase in online spend post recovery. Yeah, the next question is, we are seeing a future trend of which where the ethics is greater than aesthetics. How are you seeing this pan out? Any specific areas Puma is working on?
Well, I think a great brand with great products has to be a great company, and a company that employees can associate themselves with, that they can relate to. And I think how you conduct a business, integrity, compassion, sustainability, which goes beyond balance sheet and the aesthetics of our products, right, is very, very important. And I spoke about it, and I can't again stress more on this. Having said that, we are in fashion business, and we would always like to believe that both form and function are important. Yes, so I think aesthetics is also a very important element of nature and life, and not one at the cost of the other. Why should we even think that they are competing? You know, you can have a great fashion brand which believes in fashionable products and great fashionable marketing, um, and which can always be run in the most ethical, most sustainable, and most compassionate manner.
Absolutely. I think it can be a world of not this or that and this and that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, we've been having some conversations about the evolution of trend post-COVID. Coming to some lighter aspects of fashion, there is a trend called about the desk trend, right? Okay, now we don't know what we are wearing below the waist, right? Now, do you see any impact of this in the categories that you operate? Will bottom wear go down for some time? Top wear will be prominent, or anything like that you see?
I think bottom wear also is very important for our comfort, right? I mean, some of the most comfortable track pants will always, in fact, will probably be more in demand than ever before. It's very difficult to actually predict that, because we as human beings are used to. We don't just wear clothes because we want to, hide our body, right? We also, it's become our second skin, right? So just because the screen doesn't show what pants we are wearing, it doesn't mean that we wear the it can be at a lighter note, it can be a point. But I think if you're wearing a nice top, it always, because it's also, see, fashion is also as much about the outside world as it is for you. So you have to be comfortable, and you have to feel right as well. So I would not take too much into this, into this joke.
Got it. I'm sure. I think if I'm a bottom wear, I would love you. Okay, moving on. I think one of the CEOs mentioned that this is the time to multiscale.
Yeah.
Right. And don't say that I'm a designer, I have product development, I'll only do that. Any point of view on using this time in upskilling, cross-skilling, anything like that you're doing, or anything that you recommend?
See, I think the world won't change. In my opinion, in certain functions and in certain job roles, you need extremely deep functional skills. You need to be an expert. Whereas in certain roles, you need to be somebody who manages multiple functions, and hence need to have an overall view across the board, right? And I don't think that's going to change, because we will need certain, a space scientist needs to know much more technical and functional things about, or somebody working with semiconductors, or somebody need to be an expert in what they're doing and do that better and research more into their elements. How I see this is, and I don't think that will change, right? Like for the job I do, I need to have multiple functional skills, because I need to today manage marketing, I need to manage sales, I need to manage production, I need to manage finance, and my role entails that. What I think is important and relevant today is that we have the time to understand other functions, which we never had the time for. But understanding other functions will help us do our jobs better, right? We will, if I am a specialist today, I need to do research and improve my knowledge in my area of specialty in future, and that's going to be my bread and butter, very important. But there are certain aligned, certain complementary functions which today I have the opportunity to learn skills of or get more information about, which will make me a better professional. So I think it's the bandwidth which has got freed up because of the madness of business getting a bit stalled for the moment, that gives us the opportunity to appreciate some of the other skills and information which we never had the time for. So I won't say that the world changing and I would beg to differ. I think that would not change much, but I think it's an opportunity of time that we have got right now.
Got it, Abhishek. And one last question. This is about technology, which is making us connect right now. And, and you've always been a believer of technology and adopting it in various parts of your organization. Now, in terms of decision making, you talked about, you need to look at the business week on week basis. If you have to be so nimble, it's a lot of data driven decisions. Now, what do you see as the way of running the business? It's not the monthly review, right? It's now weekly reviews. For everything which used to happen in our monthly horizons are happening in days right now to do all of this. So how are you seeing this, and how does it impact companies in terms of using data and that cultural change?
I think the world with the crisis and what is going to happen now is only making data-driven decision making and adoption of technology faster. It was always relevant. We all knew the future was technology. The future was endorsement of data and analytics and machine learning. I think that's going to get even faster with everyone suddenly waking up. There is, and today nobody can be in this mode of denial, right? Because I have in the past, even when a lot of us have been talking about importance of technology and how we need to change and how we need to adopt, there are a lot of businesses and a lot of leaders who had said that, "Nee, hamara business to aise chalega, aisa hi chalta raha hai." I think that resistance to technology, data, analytics is going to go down across the world. Also because now planning becomes critical and demand planning becomes different. Supply chain becomes very different. I think what can enable us to do that better is tools, platforms, programs, decision trees, and data-led approach in the organization.
Wonderful, Abhishek. I think a lot of points to ponder. And I'm sure there are very practical ideas that many of our audience can use in their plans post-COVID. Thank you very much for your time and sparing your time from your busy schedule. And wonderful having you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.
You too.